Welcome to Story Maze, a place to lose yourself in wondrous fairy tales and broadcasts from other realities. Apples, a Changeling the Lost fanfiction by Tom Wyrd. My day starts with an apple. It simply sits over there on my windowsill, not too far away from the abandoned dove nest. I left the window open for the night because it got really warm and my AC isn't working. Wanted to get it repaired for weeks, but money is coming in slowly. Of course, it was stupid to leave it open. But how could they reach me on the 6th floor, and what protection is guaranteed by a half-broken pane of glass? That was my reasoning to leave the window open and let some fresh air in. Really needed that sleep. No, I wake up, and over there is a god-forsaken apple. The sunlight is hitting it just in the right way, makes the rich red of its skin vibrant and promising. In the air there's only a hint of its ripe smell, telling about its sweetness and all the juices filling it to the brim. I was made into a beast. Untamed instincts tend to take over and utterly destroy sense and reason in moments like this. There's food, sustenance and pleasure to be found in this fruit if I would only sink my teeth into its crisp skin and the soft flesh beneath. Still lying on my bed, I could feel the sugary juice running down dark fur on my chin, soaking it. But I know where this apple comes from. I know it's a trap, the perfect lure for my kind. My sense of danger is triggered and hits heavy on other instincts. There was an intrusion into my den, into my safe space. They are trying to get me back. They try to get me to come to them, to take their food, to let them feed me, to be tamed once again. My blood turns hot, muscles go taut. Lust and hunger start fighting with anger and rage. There's a snarl coming from my throat. I hate it. I hate it so much to be in my body as my bestial sights take over. The sate fuels the rage, and my body starts moving on its own. The emotions have to go somewhere. I crush the chair with the closest that I prepared for this day. I hate the chair and myself as I tear it to shreds and splinters. They entered my home. They placed a trap in this very room. I dig my claws and my teeth into the blankets to drown out my growling and anger. I am in my den. There's no place to flee to, so my instincts tell me to fight, to attack. I attack the walls. It takes quite some time to ground myself. One could ask, how could such a tiny thing like an apple incite such fury and drama? One might ask Adam and Eve, or Paris, or the Trojans. They could tell you a story or two. For me, it is a reminder that they have fed me. The gentry, the true fae, fed me with fruits like this. The food was delicious and addicting. Whenever I tasted it, I wanted more and do whatever they wanted me to do. I can't remember what I did, but I fear it involves a lot of violence. There are marks on my body that tell their own stories. So, I can't even get angry and fight with anybody without feeling the influence of the fae over me. They made me into this creature. A lot of beast. A little bit of human. Enough of a human to flee, return to home and hate them for what they did to me. Right now I'm sitting in the shreds of my blankets and stare at the apple. My neighbors are probably filing a complaint about my rumbling. But I start to get an idea. Faeries are devious creatures, and it's fitting they try to get me with a trap. But they didn't take me as I slept, and they didn't enter my dreams to poison or trap me in there. As much as they desire to get me back, they seem to fear an open confrontation in this place. Finally, I stand up and put my forming plan into action. The other day I noticed some old-fashioned rat traps in the cellar. Luckily I found 2 live specimens incarcerated in small cages. The first one was set free. As part of the price I will have to pay for the magic I'm going to invoke. Releasing one will strengthen the binding conducted with the second one. Fate, or Wyrd, as I like to call it, will be satisfied. The little critter was brought into my apartment in a speedy manner. Then I went to shop for groceries. After that was taken care of, I can start. I go into my kitchen and I put the rat in its cage on the table. Then I start cooking a pudding. There's an old recipe which uses a lot of butter. Some fairies can't resist it. After the pudding is steaming and done, I get my sewing kit and take a needle out of it. Iron hurts me as much as them, and I need to repair my clothes regularly, so I use needles made from bone. With this needle, I prick myself into the finger and then the rat. Our blood mingles on the needle's tip. Out of a drawer, I get some herbs and pour them onto the blood. It's less about the right ingredients, but more about the movement and the will expressed in this gesture. As the dried leaves fall upon the needle, I can feel the strings of fate envelop it. With tiny flicks of my fingers and closed eyes, I redirect the strings and weave them into an intricate web. It's like meditating. I can feel my mind slip away into the world of dreams. My heartbeat slows down, as does my breathing. For a moment, my real kitchen overlaps with a more surreal version of it. My dream home is filled with flowers from my friend's place. Plastic containers are swapped with earthenware drawers. The walls bear no tapestry but moss and ferns. Tiny, animal-like creatures buzz around. I grant them haven in my dream world, and they assist me in other matters. This is my innermost sanctuary, my bastion, and the true source of my power. There are other ways to work magic. I prefer this one. I dream of the red and the needle, and I dream of the pain that I felt this morning. Waves of lust, confusion, and fury are drawn from my heart and from the jars on the shelves of my dream kitchen. All of them are woven into the net I envision in the waking world, and as the well of all the pains is finally drained, as all the jars are emptied, I knot them down in the needle. When I open my eyes again, everything is blurry. All the walls are wrong, the floor is shaking like the surface of the ocean. Still, I see the tiny movements of my dream companions. The more powerful my dream workings are, the harder it is to discern between illusion and reality. The side effects could be much worse if I directed my craft against a mortal being. But right now, the overlapping between realms is a good thing. The nature of dreams will hide my enchantment. The rat is nervously running through its tiny cage. I sigh. If my plan works, it will be a sacrifice in my fight for freedom. Then I stick the needle into the pudding. As night comes on, I take a deep breath and pick up the apple. Still, it's bewitching me. By accident, one of my claws rips the skin, and a barrage of the most delicious smells hit me like an avalanche. All the feelings start to bubble up again, and I feel my control starting to slip away. But this time I am prepared. This time I breathe slowly and concentrate on my task. Only for a second I allow myself to tap into my fury as I throw the fruit as hard as I can out of the window. Then I place the prepared pudding on the windowsill. The rat cage was placed well hidden outside the building in a bush. The day was just as hot as the one before, so it only makes sense to leave the windows open and invite the deviant faeries once again. And so the waiting begins. The hours drip by as slowly as honey does, and I have more time than necessary to contemplate my decision. It's a horrible plan. I should have gotten some friends involved. It's pure madness to oppose beings who can turn you into a snake or a piece of wood alone. Creatures who can whisk you away without anybody noticing within seconds. They have servants and powerful magic that outclasses mine by leagues. But here we are. They attacked my home. They attacked my den. And the beast can't let that slip. They put me in the corner, and now I'm going to bite. I am one of the oldest of my kind in this city. I am a master in the dream workings, and I will not be driven away by a peony apple. It is just in this moment, as these thoughts cross my mind, that the hairs at the back of my neck stand up all at once. I can't swallow anymore, and my legs won't run away. I beat down the fear and feel the presence of one of them. In my mind's eye, I see a beautiful man, crowned by starlight, staring longingly at the pudding. In his hand is resting the next apple. Gracefully, he puts it directly next to my present. The fae should know better than to touch it, but the delicate fingers linger only inches above the pudding. Probably it is his endless greed and hunger for sweets that's pushing him over. The aroma of the fresh apple creeps into my nose and chokes my throat. My nostrils flare. His fingertips shake a little. I try to swallow. He picks up the saucer I put the pudding on. My claws dig into the mattress, and he pulls the dish to his lips. Like perfectly formed rose petals, they split, and the bright teeth unveil a curious tongue. My muscles start cramping. The enchantment of that goblin fruit is insidious, and my body craves for the apple's flesh. The fae's tongue licks the smooth surface of the pudding longingly, tasting it. Is he toying with me? Suddenly, I am hit with a massive invisible force. The faerie bites into the dish and the needles pierces his tongue. An ungodly shriek echoes from every wall as my trap springs. Forgotten is the apple. There's only rage, the instinct to strike out. I free myself from the remaining pieces of my blankets and get onto my feet. The connection between me and my enchantment lets me feel the anguish the horrified faerie feels. He is struck blind by the sheer amount of horrible emotions I hurled at him. The body starts to contort and deform itself. There are horrific noises as the bones break. In the rush of the moment, I can't help myself. I have to laugh, a thundering laughter, as I see that the High Lord is trapped, bound to the cage rat. He can't move. Instead, he twists and howls in pain. It is incredible. For a very brief moment, this faerie will feel my pain. It might last only for seconds, but for once I am in control. I won't be held on a leash again. That's all that's here for you. Leave. Leave and never return. I snarl at him. Pure hatred pours out of his eyes into my direction. The pain in them promise me pure hell until the end of time. This is only the beginning. If you return, you will feel my full might. I will annihilate you, rip that crown off of your head, and feast upon your names. As I speak, I concentrate on the feelings I make him feel with my enchantment. The fear and confusion take over. I can't hear the rat dying. It must have taken its last breath during this assault, because the fae breaks free. Panicked and hurt, it glances at me. Then there's a green flash of light as it opens a gate to its realm through another window. Silence returns. I am panting, merely standing. This encounter took a lot of strength. I am thirsty and shaking. Was it worth it? I hope so. With the leftovers of the ravaged chair, I kick out the new apple and close the window. Then my path leads me into my kitchen. As I drink cold tap water, I have a moment to be honest with myself. Some minutes ago, I lied. This wasn't the beginning. These are my limits. I was lucky and terribly reckless. I feel the ground shaking. I can see my dream kitchen, but I haven't entered it on my will. You see, pride gets to me, and I have to be more careful. A tiny voice in my head tells me we can't tolerate intruders, and you limit yourself. Dream bigger, dive deeper into your well of power. You can become more. You can exact revenge against all of them. You can make them feel small. You could even enslave them, treat them with their own medicine. What are some more rats, if not disposable? Don't leave your dreams. I shake my head. No, I am not at this point yet. Let's hope I scared this one enough. Let's hope I survive another day without becoming one of them.
Changeling the Lost, 2nd edition, is owned by White Wolf and published by Onyx Path Publishing. This piece of fan material was written, recorded and edited by Tom Murr. Co-editing by Ben B. All the art on the channel is designed by Looney Dragon. You can find her at Twitter with the label @LooneyDragon. Thank you for listening.